about a month ago, we were doing the show here, the tax show, every afternoon, Sunday afternoon at this time, and you mentioned something which I think is worth repeating, and you've said it to me privately. There's no debtor's prison. There's no debtor's prison, and you made the point that if folks are dealing with an unresolved tax issue, there's an awful lot of fear, but the IRS, when you go in there and you negotiate on someone's behalf, they're going to allow you, as you've said, they're going to allow you a roof over your head. They're going to allow you some disposable income. They're going to allow you, transportation expenses. This is a very complex situation that not just anyone should be dealing with, and you've been at this for decades. Jim Felton has been doing what he's been doing for decades. I can't underscore enough the importance of putting these issues in the hands of responsible folks who have experience. And it's much to your credit, and you're persistent.
Well, that's correct, Brian. The IRS is going to allow you a roof over your head, food and clothing, an automobile, operating expenses on that automobile, health care, that is your premium for health insurance, and of course, current year taxes. So if you're paying all these things, you can in fact probably make $4,000, $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 or more a month before the IRS takes one penny if we do an installment agreement, an offer in compromise, a partial pay installment agreement, or sometimes I'm referring these cases to Jim Felton over at Greenberg and Bass for bankruptcy because taxes, in fact, are dischargeable in bankruptcy under certain circumstances. We've talked about that before.
You mentioned Peter Stephan from the Tax Resolution Institute, taxresolutioninstitute.com. Jim Felton is here from Greenberg and Bass. We were talking before the show this afternoon about a call that you received from a client who really wasn't, and that's the intersection between the Tax Resolution Institute and Greenberg and Bass. You get somebody who might be ready for a bankruptcy, but you received a call from somebody who actually really wasn't quite there yet. They weren't really quite at the point where bankruptcy was an option for them.
Oh, yes. That was the show a couple of weeks ago. And this gentleman had over $100,000 in credit card debt, had several years taxes, about $150,000 unpaid, and an unfiled 2012 return, of course, and that was not yet delinquent. But when we took a look at the situation and we analyzed it just over the telephone with this gentleman, we determined that he would not qualify to file a bankruptcy for at least another year in order to discharge the taxes, which was a majority of his debt. So we do that kind of analysis, and then we hand it off to Jim Felton over at Greenberg and Bass to follow through and handle the bankruptcy.
Jim,
I was going to say that's a perfect segue to how we work together, and also why it may be that someone that doesn't have the experience would look at this situation differently. For example, Peter saw right away that this person was eligible for a bankruptcy, but it wouldn't do them much good. It wouldn't solve the major problem. So the hope is that this person now understands that they could have called me, and I would have said the same thing. I'm not so sure that's the case for everyone on the internet, because he would otherwise qualify for a bankruptcy. But so what?
But sometimes not prudent.
Well, it's not prudent because it doesn't solve the biggest problem. So you have to hope that your professional, the person you go to, says, yeah, you qualify, but let's not do it now. It doesn't. If we wait, we can get you so much more benefit by waiting, even though waiting doesn't put any money in our respective pockets. We're not getting a fee for telling him to wait, but that's the right answer, and that's the right advice.
This is the Tax Show with Peter Stephan from the Tax Resolution Institute at taxresolutioninstitute.com. Jim Felton is here from Greenberg and Bass. I'm Brian Whitman from The Morning Answer. And speaking of The Morning Answer, we've been focusing a lot on the mayor's race in Los Angeles, and of course Jan Perry with her campaign for the mayor's office. There was, Jim, I thought of you, there was a lot of attention paid in the media to the fact that she and her husband, I guess a number of years ago, had dealt with a bankruptcy. And it occurred to me that that at least with bankruptcy, I think less, Peter, with unresolved tax issues, there seems to be still very present a stigma associated with bankruptcy. In fairness, I don't believe it should still be there, but it is there, isn't it?
It is there, and I think you're right, it shouldn't be there. And given that it was so long ago, as I understand it, in her situation, I'm not certain that it really should have any effect on the race, but things happen. I mean, we had a client that came in that had started a production company, was working on a show. The show didn't work. They put all of their earnings into the show. They had borrowed millions of dollars to put the show together.
They were all in.
They were all in. They didn't go to the Bahamas. They didn't waste the money. The show didn't work. And it could have been a huge hit, but it was the reverse. So now they're looking at a $14 million obligation. They had to file Chapter 7. There's nothing wrong with these people. They didn't do anything wrong. They didn't misuse the system. They went into a business venture that just didn't work. They were entitled to a fresh start. It's unfortunate it didn't work. It's unfortunate that some people aren't going to get paid, but they didn't steal. And that's bankruptcy is there to protect people who, for better or worse, make decisions that may not work out to their best intention.
That's Jim Felton from Greenberg and Bass. This is the Tax Show with Peter Stephan from the Tax Resolution Institute. I'm Brian Whitman here every Sunday afternoon at this time.